Yes, hello guys, and welcome back to Phoenix Wright. When we last left off, we're here to explain something.
Think carefully before you answer, and then answer with gusto. I believe in you.
Alright, this is what I think. The reason the victim brought the Nickel Samurai spare costume to the hotel was... Okay, so I cheated a little bit and I saw I had to present this one. And after some thinking, I was like, oh right. If you remember back, Matt Ingard didn't know there was a press conference, like to confess something, right? Like the post-ceremony stage show. So that might be the reason he wants to dress up as the to say something as the Nickel Samurai. I don't know. We'll have to present this anyway. What is this? On the night of the murder, after the stage show, the Nickel Samurai was going to hold a special press conference. A press conference? Yes, the Nickel Samurai was supposed to confess something at this conference. I heard about this as well. For once, you're not making something up, right? But what struck me as strange was that Mr. Engard himself said he had no idea he was supposed to be holding a press conference at that night. But how could it be? The way I see it, that can only mean one thing. The conference was set up by none other than the victim, Mr. Juan Correda himself. The victim? Yes. The spare Nickel Samurai costume was prepared for that very conference. Mr. Correda was going to hold a press conference as the Nickel Samurai. He was going to dress up as the Nickel Samurai and hold a conference? Do they sound alike? I don't know, this is text-based game, like, you don't hear any voices besides, like, Phoenix and Ichipu, like, yelling out objection. Why would you do... Why would the victim do such a thing? That's something I don't quite know yet. However, what I'm concerned with right now is that what he intended to reveal at the conference, the Nickel Samurai was going to confess something. And by confess, I'd wager he was going to reveal something about himself. Which means that Juan Corrida, posing as Nickel Samurai, was going to speak about Matt Ingard. Yes, I guess that is what it would mean. But if that was the case, that's not a confession, that's public disclosure. Miss Andrews, I can see why you are pros at what you do. Pardon me? Yes, just as you say, the press conference was set up by Juan. Miss Andrews, please offer us an explanation for this. I was the one he asked to help set it up. And the person who prepared the second costume for him, that was also me. You? Juan had bet everything on the German Ninja this year. And if he lost the Grand Prix, he was going to make sure Matt was going down with him. That's what he thought anyway. He was going to ruin him? Huh? It looked like somehow Juan had in his hands a secret so powerful that it would destroy Matt's acting's career had it been revealed. What? Do you know what the secret of Mr. Engard is, Miss Andrews? That's something only Juan knew. I don't know what it is. I see. I'm probably coming off quite suspicious to anyone. If you're gonna help him with something, you wouldn't have you would like to know the reason to why he would do it, right? You just gotta be like, I'm just gonna help him just because. But that's to be expected. I've been trying to protect Matt, after all. Then what? Why are you helping Juan then? And yet again, another strange bit of truth come to light, it seems. Miss Andrews, if you could, please tell us the truth about your behavior. Yes, Your Honor, I understand. Witness testimony! Protecting Matt. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what. And he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. But you said he was sleeping! Well, him and you said he was sleeping! My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course, the button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt that I had to protect him. What? But if you say like it was him who did it, like the time doesn't add up then. This does account for everything. Well, I am the logical type. Well, you didn't make sense there.
We're finally seeing her true self. She's more nervous than a scared rabbit.
If the defense can find no fault with this testimony, I'm ready to make a ruling. Please keep that in mind if you cross-examine Mr. Wright. Looks like somehow everything has swung to the opposite end of the scale again. That just means I have to put my weight into this, and turn her logic upside down. All right, cross-examination. Press everything. Would you say that was your intuition speaking to you? Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own. If you want to prove that someone did something, you need 3 things. 3 things? A motive, an opportunity to commit the crime, and finally, decisive evidence. And if you think these 3 things through, the answer becomes clear.
You should have already known that, Phoenix.
They didn't teach that to us in school. At least, not from what I remember. May I continue now? Matt had to kill Juan no matter what. So you would say this need came from the press conference? Yes. Do you know why Juan chose the event and that hotel for the conference? Because that was when he could cause the most damage to the public's beloved Matt Ingard. Do you know this? And you knew of this plan, didn't you, Miss Andrews? Yes, because I was the one who set up the conference and prepared the costume. What, are you saying you're protecting Matt by damaging his reputation? What? But I'm sure Mr. Ingard himself didn't know anything about the press conference. Oh, really? Can you show me any proof that he didn't know about the press conference? Anyway, the important thing here is that this information was not in your testimony. Yes, I agree. Miss Andrews, please correct your testimony, if you please. Grasping at straws now, are we, Mr. Wright? I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove I'm right. Okay, what is his motive? Has Mr. Ingard done something to hurt or betray you personally? What do you ask? You were the one who helped Mr. Carter with his press conference, and that event was supposed to bring down Mr. Ingard, yet you still helped out. Objection! The person on trial right now is Mr. Ingard, right? What the witness was thinking, helping the victim with his plan, is none of our concern. In any case, this means that the defendant had a motive to kill— What? This doesn't make sense. Why do I keep doing this to myself? But if... And if he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder... Wait, back. But didn't you already testify earlier that Mr. Ingard was taking a nap in his room? And are you telling me that now, that too was a lie so you could cover Mr. Ingard? I'm not telling you anything of the sort. When I went to get to him for the show, he honestly was sleeping. However, as to whether he was sleeping the entire time, that I cannot say. I was too busy setting up the stage at the time. I keep trying, but I can find no flaws with what Miss Andrews has said. What the fuck is this? Time! God damn it. And I can't say the same for some people here in this courtroom, however. The judge is glaring straight at Mia.
He's glaring at you, smart guy. Or maybe my boobs, who knows?
My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course. The button and the knife. You can hardly call that knife decisive evidence. The fingerprints on the knife could very well be a clever camouflage. Then, what about the button? The button? It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and his murderer fought. And during the fight, the killer ripped the button from the Jammin' Ninja's costume. You're talking about this button, correct? The button was found in the plates of Matt's Hakama. Is not correct. I would think that makes it very decisive evidence. Looks like you were outfoxed again, Mr. Wright. Anyway, the knife doesn't prove a thing. Please fix your testimony. Like it says here, was also strangled. No one's gonna strangled with a scarf then stabbed. Is no one gonna comment on that? His scarf is still on him. Like he could have been strangled and then stabbed with a knife later on. I can't stand the sight of a man who can't gracefully accept his defeat. Thank goodness Mia can still look at me.
With a icy stare, yes.
Miss Andrews, for Mr. Wright's sake, please add this information to your testimony. That button was torn off Joanne during the fight with Matt. And how do you know that? Well, the ends of the threads on the button and the costume were matched up. They were found to fit together perfectly, so I heard. I've heard that before too. Why would Miss Andrews know about this case down to such a fine detail? Don't look at me like that, just because I'm prepared and you're not. And I thought I had her at this time for sure. If there's anything to trip her up on this, it has to be here. Where and what? Like, how would she know? Who said that? Who would know this? Who was it that said that? I can't remember. Is there time on this photo? No, there's no time. Okay. Is there time on this one? This one only says 16. Oh well. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt I had to protect him. But what you really did was stab the guy in the back, didn't you? And at the worst possible time. Objection! Who's to say she really stabbed the guy in the back, as she put it? This witness could have disclosed things about Mr. Engard at any time. Why then would she wait until there was a large audience before doing so? It's the same reason why Mr. Carter planned such an elaborate conference. Miss Andrews wanted to cause Mr. Engard as much damage as she possibly could. This witness bears ill will towards the defendant. Objection! This isn't the Phoenix Wright wax philosophical power hour. And please, stop slandering the witness.
As I expected, Miss Andrews'
testimony seems pretty solid.
Really? Because to me it sounded a little wishy-washy.
Wishy-washy? Well, I guess we'll see if I press a little more.
You should know this by now. But you'll need strong decisive evidence to make her talk.
Got it, Chief. I'm going to pin you down this time, Miss Andrews. Alright, so this is where I feel like I should press or present some evidence, but I'm not really sure what. Yeah, to protect him by backstabbing him. The button was torn off. Like, she knew. Exactly, but where did she get that information from? So let's look at what we got here. I'm not too sure what I should present here. Let's check the picture once again. What could be the case here? Like, no one's gonna say they were strangled. No, not this one. Strangled with a scarf, then stabbed with a knife. Say was stuck during their fight. Oh, where would that button be? If that's... Could it be that? No, that's too big. Like, that can't be it, can it? Is that part of the costume, maybe? Yeah, it's part of the costume. Okay, if she says that it was stuck on the Akama, there's no proof of it here. Unless it's on the other side of on the person itself. Let's check out the helper guide here. Alright. So... Oh, right. So, I was right again. Because she's not talking about the being strangled, so let's try with that. This is the victim's autopsy report. It clearly states that the cause of this was strangulation by a scarf. Strangulation? The knife stab to the victim was done after the victim had already died. And what does that mean? Let's examine the evidence. The button... Oh... I'm an idiot. This button has the victim's blood on it, which would mean that it was ripped off of the costume. When? After the knife was stabbed into the victim. Exactly, which means... It is impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle, because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. That's right, Miss Andrews. There is no way this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was consciously pulled off when the victim's already dead body. Order. What is the meaning? What is the meaning of this, Wright? So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does that change? That the knife was planted right after. Your lawyer. Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Itchy Poo. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did it serve? What purpose? We now know that this button was not torn off during the fight, so the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it? Mr. Wright, does it mean that you know the murderer wanted to do with this button? What was it? Well, to put the crime on Engard. Are you serious? There's only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. Engard. There is no way for anyone would put a bloodied button in their own pants. That's right, Mr. Engard was set up, but a real killer, of course. And the real murderer is... Well, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real killer then? Finally, isn't it Andrews? Like, she's the only one. I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Let me save here.
Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet. Not until the very end.
The real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. Engard is... Well, it can't be any other than Andrews herself. I just have to double check. Miss Adrian Andrews, I choose you! You are Mr. Corridor's killer!
What? Oh no, my spare glasses!
Order! Mr. Wright, this is a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge? Any evidence? All the evidence points to Miss Andrews.
How preposterous. Good thing I had a third spare pair of glasses. You can't stick any of that on me.
I can't, can I? Would you care to test me?
Then what about this knife?
The knife was used to stab the victim after he had already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion into Mr. Engard, naturally. A knife covering the defendant's fingerprints would only be taken from his room. And the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you!
My third... Oh, here's my fourth one. Then... What? What about the button that was found in Matt's Hakama?
This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only people who could have done so were the person who found his body or the killer. However, if Mr. Engard was the real killer, there was no way he would have put such incriminating evidence in his own Hakama.
My fourth pair of glasses. Here's my fifth one.
The only person who had put this button on Mr. Engard's Hakama is the person who went to wake him up from his nap, which is you, yet again, Mr. Andrews. I see. What about the empty guitar case? That is also another piece of evidence that discriminates Miss Andrews. The costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Now, who would have known that there was such a costume inside the guitar case? It could only have been the person who prepared this costume for the victim. And that person is you, Miss Adrian Andrews.
No, I'm running out of spare glasses. Please spare me.
But Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case. And it was she who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. That's right. That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone had found out that she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it.
But the glass of the tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposely left her fingerprints on the glass to show that yes, indeed, she was the classic day's discoverer of a dead body. Oh no, my 5th pair of glasses! And this is to top it all off, there is this photo. A photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth can believe this nickel samurai is Mr. Engard. He would be much too short for his own costume if it was him. I had to steal a pair of glasses. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, are you also kind of short in stature? Are you not? Please, stop. I stole these glasses. I'm out of glasses. Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got this time. Miss Andrews? I refuse to testify. What was that? There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me.
Well, yes, you're absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination by allowing a witness to not testify if the testimony can cause damage to themselves. Oh, so you're gonna deny your short height? Is that it? Pleading the 5th is not something most people would think to do on the spot. Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. Engard's room. Adrian Andrews. Yes? Voice did I give karma? Oh. Alright. That's it. That's when Frank and Siska planted this idea into her head. She must have told Mr. Andrews to not testify if things looked bad. You did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. But there's still one thing you haven't done. Something I haven't done? Heh, heh, heh. What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence? What is so humorous, Mr. Ichipu? Can you seriously? Anyway, I'm sure you realize this as well, Your Honor. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up to this point is meaningless. What? Everything you have proven is circumstantial. Circumstantial? Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Proof that Miss Andrews did in fact harbor a wish to murder Mr. Corrida. Fuck. Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Corrida? I believe this may lead to me incriminating myself, so I will not abstain from answering. But Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think? Maybe so, or maybe not. There's nothing to prove it. There's nothing to prove it either way. Besides, you don't even know what crime I would be guilty of due to my silence. No, she's taking that defiant attitude again. Mia, what should we do? Somehow, we've landed in the worst possible situation. I think we have reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Andrews has refused to testify, and the defense theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with solid definitive proof. But that's not true. In this situation, there is only one thing this court can do, and that is to declare a recess. Recess? I request that both of the prosecution and the defense look further into this matter. At tomorrow's trial. Tomorrow? We don't have a tomorrow. If we don't get a guilty verdict today, then... A not guilty verdict. Please wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial. Please continue the trial. What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he? That's not it. This isn't about that. Ichipu, I know you know who the real killer is. Please, let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then my... But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is... It is not impossible for this trial to continue. Mr. Ichipu, what are you? It's true Miss Andrews holds the right against her self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation were something unrelated to the and whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that is very true, but actually, there is one little thing that I'm curious about. Miss Andrews. when did you steal those glasses? I mean, when you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice.
Yes, and
I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Usually when one finds a body, they are shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice.
So my actions were unusual, but I've already... Before you speak, I want to state that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect.
Testify?
Your Honor, I would like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever you find out in this testimony which should in no way implicate the witness.
I don't know what this is about. What this is about Ichipu today, but I can't get a good read off of him. Is he friend or foe? I just don't know.
I think he's being very natural here, but he wants to help Phoenix because he's like caught on to why he's like so pressing. The court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please.
The glass of juice. I didn't really pour it for myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it in the messy state. And Juan was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner. When I saw him sitting like that, the thought that he was dead didn't cross my mind. To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to pour him some juice. When I realized I was dead, that's when I knocked over the flower vase.
Okay, so you were not in a daze. We can't trust this person anymore. She's just telling lies. Why didn't you say so in your earlier testimony?
I didn't think I was needed to include something so trivial. And also, I'm lying. Phoenix, please be careful here. If you can't find anything wrong in this testimony, there's nothing left.
I know. Itchy boy. I mean, Pooh. What the heck is going on in the brain of yours? Now then, Mr. Bright, you may begin your cross-examination.
Cross-examination! When I found a body, which we'll have to wait till next time. Hope you guys enjoyed this part. I'm gonna leave you guys with a high five that you can't see.